Hey everyone, welcome to Trail Talk. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of our news and reaction show all about the world of trail running, the thing that we all love, the thing we love to talk about, the thing that we love to do. This week we have the same fun OG panel diving into the hot topics in our sport. We also have an elite ultra running coach jumping in to answer one of our viewer questions. Our guest this week, Robbie Britton, dialing in from the Italian Alps. Robbie is a super fast runner in his own right. I think a 220-something marathoner, 257 50k, and also holds the British 24-hour record with 277 miles. So he is no slouch. We also have some news from the 200-mile scene, the World Trail Majors, UTMB. We got a viewer question. We've got this, that, the other. All fun, all good. Last thing before we jump into the show, we're not on Spotify. Search Trail Talk, you'll find us there. I know a lot of people were chasing me to get this on Spotify, but ultimately we see this more as a show than a podcast. And as long as it's got a video element, I think it's fair game. So you can watch it on Spotify. You can watch it on YouTube. We also have some great discounts for you viewers. You can use code IRunOverMountains30 for 30%. 30%, that's massive, off anything on goreware.com. That is Goreware, the makers of Gore-Tex, the inventors of Gore-Tex, an amazing German brand. This code works in North America, it works in Europe, so please use it. And let me know on Instagram what you've got. I'd love to know. But anyway, let's go and see the OG panel and get on with the show. All right, guys, let's dive straight into the Arizona Monster 300. Bit of an interesting one. This has been on the cards, I think, from pre-COVID. Quite a few years in development since Candice bought a house there with her Bitcoin millions. Kind of feels a little bit trolly for me, everything about this event. I'm not sure if we've discussed my take on Destination Trail and Candice, but we're not going to go into that right now. If anyone has a question about that, stick it in the comments and I'll gladly fill you in on my previous experience there. But I just think like this 300-mile distance, it feels like a one-up or an attempted one-up of Cocodona 250. I know some might say, well, is the Cocodona 250 a one-up on the Moab 240? I don't think so. It's also a month earlier. You know, it's slated for April 2025. Cocodona is the first, like the 4th of May, 4th to the 11th of May or something like that. So it's a month earlier. Who could afford to do 200 plus milers in a month, even if their legs could manage it? So yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling a bit funny about this. I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole on it, but if anyone is interested in the wider opinion on Destination Trail and Candice Burt, why don't you search either of those things on Reddit and give yourself a good 30 minutes because you'll be going down deep. Brian, what do you think? Arizona Monster 300, is this a troll event or what? What's happening?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess ignorance is bliss because I don't have like the personal vendetta or the personal baggage that you bring into how you're reviewing things here, right? But I mean, other than the fact that it does kind of pull the rug out from underneath the May start for Cocodona, like that is a bit of a savvy business move because it does force somebody to have to pick and choose now which race they're going to need to do. But when you just look at the course profile, you know, the region of Arizona that it's located in, it's a unique race. It's point to point, so it's authentic. You know, it's not something that's contrived. Like you said, she's got a residence down there, so there's some authenticity, and you know, she's familiar with these trails. And yeah, I mean, I think she's going to do a good job of highlighting a region of Arizona that doesn't have any well-known race on the radar. Aravaipa really, I don't think, has any trail race, to my knowledge, in that area, so she's not stepping on the toes or expanding on well-known races that are already there, like example, like canyons, basically, kind of utilizing Western states for their events. This seems to be its own unique course that she's probably I mean, you can't just create this overnight, right? Like she's probably invested quite a bit of effort to create this. So let her run with it. And yeah, I mean, it's a free market. So the people will decide. I just can't believe how much these things cost. I mean, when we were studying and researching over this, I'm just like, holy crap, man. I mean, it's $1,500 for Cocodona, and I assume this one's going to be pushing maybe $2,000. So yeah, I need to find myself a 300-mile sugar mama that can afford me or something like that, because this is crazy, the money these people are spending on these races.
Troy, what do you think?
Well, I'll just, like, elephant in the room, like, I hope they don't run out of food and water, like I've heard that a lot. That happens for a lot of people toward the back of the pack at some of the events. I don't know, man, for the cost of it, it's like you could through hike the Arizona Trail, cover your cover like all of the food that you need to take with you, probably dial in some logistics and cover your airfare there and back, and not deal with running on a trail with several hundred people either, and kind of have a real soul sport endeavor for yourself. I didn't even think about just the proximity to Cocodona. I do know that you're talking about running in the desert, so it's either spring or fall. Like you kind of have there's only really two windows that you can kind of approach an event like this. I don't want to get into the whole destination trail thing in Candice either, but I do know that she has done a really good job of cornering the market as far as what a price point for a 200 plus mile event needs to look like. I know that she's had conversations with other race directors that were trying to do it cheaper and kind of inform them like, hey, this is kind of the minimal viable price to do business. And so, good on her. That's there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Carving out a living. Man, this was a couple years ago. I had a friend, he wanted to run this event that was going to happen. I believe it was in Oregon. I believe it was or Northern California. And the price point was a certain price that he saw on the website, and he was going to pull the trigger. And then the website went off for like a couple days and came back on. The price was triple. I might be hearing hearsay through, this is telephone, on Trail Talk right now, but I just know that, she's really proud of her events, which I guess she should be. And when I say proud, that's in air quotes of like the price is high, and if you look at the logistics of doing a 200-mile event, yes, you have more ground to cover. Yes, you have more permits to pull. There's less aid stations at these events than there are at a normal 100-miler. So it's not like the cost of the event is 3 times to put on. I didn't start doing backflips when I saw this announced, I'll be honest with you. If I'm going to go do 300 miles, I'm going to plan my own route. I'm going to do it self-supported or unsupported. I'm going to go do like a long trail through hike style event. I definitely don't need to commiserate with a bunch of lost souls on the trails for 6 days in order to have an epic experience.
Well, if a premier 100-mile race is, let's say, $400 to run, with full aid stations probably every 10-ish miles. A destination trail race, the aid stations are every 20 miles. They serve you a burger. They serve you the regular shite that you get at the aid stations. Why is the entry 4 times the amount? Like, these people are volunteering anyway. It's not like she's paying the volunteers. I mean, does any race really pay the volunteers? But I mean, so I tell you why these races are that expensive, that she set the precedent, and it's just went from there on. Ricky, what you got?
A couple of things. I do think it's a really cool race because, as Wolfie said, it's point to point, and point to point over 309 miles, right? Point to point over 300 miles. I think that's pretty incredible. And I know you're saying the cost is high, but the cost of all these kind of events is crazy. Like, I'm going to compare this to something like we have here called the Spine, right? So the Spine race is huge and everybody loves the Spine. And I'm probably going to get slated because I don't like the Spine. It's not my kind of race. It's a long walk in the dark in the middle of winter. The weather's shit. It's horrible. You need to be a psychopath to take part in this race. Whereas I see this race, it's run in the desert pretty much. It's all on trail. It's got about 6% of road in it, I think, and that's like between road and fire road. So that's deadly. Like, it's all trail. It's all really, really nice looking trail. It's going to be hot. It's going to be warm. And again, for people that are trying to race against cutoffs, you're talking 7 hours and 2 days. Like, 7 hours, 7 days and 2 hours out there.
It's a holiday.
Of course it's going to be expensive. Like you're out for 7 days, and if you're expecting people to be there at aid stations and stuff like that for 7 days, it's going to cost a pretty penny. Like, so I'm definitely like sort of saying it could be a very cool race. You know, as far as like these ultra races go, it could be a good one. You know, I know it's coming close to Cocodona, and it's you have a lot of politics there maybe, but I don't really care so much about that. It's like I don't live in America. I don't know Jam. I don't know these people. I just know that there's another race. It's point to point. You know, I think it's pretty cool.
If it runs for 7 days and you
And
don't
2
pay the
hours.
staff and 2 hours, and you don't pay the staff to be out there for 7 days, how's the cost anymore? Whether it's 2 days or 7 days, and also it's like 200 people or something. So the food for 200 people is the food for 200 people, regardless of it's 100k or 200 miles or 500 miles, and you're not paying the people that run the aid stations, and water is free. So work that one out. Anyway, if I was going to do another 200 miler, which I would love to do, I think the leading contender right now is the Divide. The thing that kind of puts me off it a wee bit is the bears. We're not used to dangerous animals in Europe. Whenever you're out in the mountains, like all you got to look after is yourself, and you don't have to worry about things like that. So I don't know, but if I do another 200 miler in America, maybe the Divide is top of my list. Ricky, just before we move on from this, the Irish have a great history at the Spine. We have winners, and now we have Joe coming through and doing really well. Obviously in the Challenger this year, but in the full Spine last year. So, you know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years from now, you could be sticking on the waterproofs and the puffy jacket and having a long walk in the rain.
Look, I'll never say never, as the man says, because there's races I said I'd never do and I've done them, you know. But would say, and I mean no disrespect to that race, because it's a super race. It's a fantastic race, you know, and it's known all over the world, and it's definitely one of the hardest things. And especially this year, like it was turned from, you know, it's getting quicker and quicker, which I love to see. I love to see athletes pushing those boundaries, and it went from a 5-day event that it was a few years ago to a 4 to now it's almost a 3, you know. Like I was actually at the running show, right? I was at the running show for Coros, and this is mental. The guy that won it was on the stage. He was on the stage giving a talk about the Spine, and people were still finishing that race 4 days later. 4 days later, the winner was on the stage talking about it. Like it's insane. It's insane, these kind of races. Like, is it really the same race if somebody else is 4 days fucking slower? Come on, I don't know. Crazy.
Yeah, it's debatable. Like it looks like that guy's gonna have bags under his eyes for another couple of months. He looked absolutely destroyed. But last thing before we move on, Tom Evans has put an entry in for the Spine next year. So I think that was an ego move by Tom. He saw the hype and thought, I'm the best in Britain. I'm going to run that. I'm going to take that record. We know he's thinking about the Bob Graham for this summer as well. So that could be interesting. The Spine's always a fun one to watch. I enjoy watching it. I would never enter that race. I'm with you. I prefer heat than cold. And it's not even mountains, you know, it's hills. So.
But at the end of the day as well, like Tom Evans, unbelievable runner, probably one of the best trail runners in the world right now. How good is he with no sleep? This is the thing, like, you know, races like these are not about running. They're not all about running. It's like the guy who won that, he slept for, I think, 51 minutes or something.
Yeah,
you know?
really, yeah.
Like, it's insane, like 51 minutes in 3.5 days, like, you know, and still able to move forward and still able to eat and still able to function like that. So you're not just running. Like it is very little to do with running, you know.
All right, guys. Grand Raid, the Pyrenees, added to the World Trail Majors. I think this is a very interesting addition. You know, it's not a race that I was ever thinking that would join the WTM. It's a race that I've known about for as long as I've known ultra running. Very big community race. It's in the Pyrenees on the French side, a couple hours from Toulouse. Similar sort of stats to UTMB or the OG UTMB. UTMB sort of crept up in kilometers over the past few years. So it's 163k and 9,800 meters of vert, which is 32,000 foot. Interesting. I like it. First WTM race in France, a week or so before UTMB week. I think that's a bit of a coup for the WTM. Ricky, we'll come to you in this. What do you think of that addition? I think it's a good one.
It's a super race for them to get under their belt, because it is very similar to UTMB, although there is, I would say UTMB has more climbs, but the Grand Raid Pyrenees has all the elevation condensed into 5 climbs, and it's like you've got these 5 monstrous ascents, but that means you've got these 5 monstrous descents, you know. So it's a real race, like, you know what I mean. You think about it like this. So the race we just talked about, the 300 miler, only has a small bit more elevation than what this race has. Like, you know, I think the 300 miler ends up having something like 13,000 meters of climbing, and this has got 10,000 meters of climbing, well, close to 10,000, you know, in 160k. It's a beast of a race. So yeah, I'm very excited about this race, and it's steeped in history, this race. So the Europeans are going to love this race. The French are going to love it. The Spanish are going to love it. Like, so it's a really good race for them to have on their cards.
Would you consider it?
I would. I actually would. Yeah. Yeah. Super cool race. Yeah. And
Same.
For the World Trail Majors as well, it's like one of those where, okay, it's not UTMB, but that's a good reason to start a race on something other than the UTMB. So yeah. So massive kudos to them for pulling that one out of the bag.
Yeah, you know, it's peak race season, August, perfect. I failed to say earlier, there's 6,500 people attend the Grand Raid de Pyrenees, so it's a big event, but it feels, and certainly if you look at the website, the website has a feel of about 15 years ago, but I just think you're going to get that UTMB vibe of maybe 2012, 2013, you know, before it sort of blew up and went Colombia and then Hoka. So I think it's super interesting. I would definitely be interested in that race, and I haven't picked a 100 miler for this year yet. Troy, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to echo their website is shite, not to use some Irish over here, but I was trying to get a little bit of intel in beta, and I'm just like, I don't even know what to do with this website, but I did find that, you know, there's 10,000 meters of climbing, which is intriguing. I did see that there's like 6,500 people that run the race, so it's like, just to echo what you said, it has the infrastructure to be something unique, and you know, I mean, I think the only thing I would say is, you know, we haven't seen an actual event leaked with any of the Killian and Zach email stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if that race wasn't on the short list of races for everyone to show up at and throw down on. And now that it's a World Trail Major, I wonder if that kind of helps to light the fire on that end of the spectrum. So besides the fact that it's definitely intriguing, like Ricky said, 5 climbs with that amount of vert up and down is that's legit.
Wolfie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think good on WTM for putting this on the calendar where they did. You know, I don't think they could exist and not try to check UTMB with some sort of competitive race around the same time frame. I'm probably, I don't know, cautious to say that it's going to drive the attendance from the elites because, I don't know, logistically, the blowback, you know, the criticism's coming from North America. So, like, it's my understanding European athletes really aren't quite as sensitive or reacting with the same vigor that we're seeing over here. And so its location is like, you know, it's in France where UTMB exists. Like, this isn't going to be something that is an immediate, you know, a reaction for European athletes to go run. They already feel like they're ready to go at UTMB. It's in the same location. We've already said there's similar trails, so I don't know why they would jump to a inferior race when they have no problem towing the line at UTMB. So maybe this will become a crowded North American field for people that still want to compete during the peak season when people are in their competitive prime and they want to compete on a big stage. So yeah, maybe this will become the North American alternative to UTMB. We'll see. Do we have any kind of list of who's registered yet, or nothing yet?
Well, I mean, I think we can just seamlessly segue into the next section, the next segment, because we are going to talk about UTMB and see if you guys think is the drama over. And to your point, Brian, I don't think that this makes. I think this is good for the WTM, but I think we already see the writing is on the wall, and the athletes are just going to race UTMB. So just on that note, we had the Pro Trail Runners Association UTMB meeting. I think that has dampened down this whole bit of fire that was going shortly after that, although the meeting seemed to be absolute load of balls. But after that, we have Normal putting out all other athletes and where they're racing. So Dakota Jones for UTMB, Tofo, Candice there, racing TDS. I listened to Single Track the other day. MK Sullivan, she's doing OCC. Debo's doing Mozart 100K by UTMB. So this little bit of talk. The Pro Trail Runners Association have got a little bit of a meeting with UTMB, and that's all it's taken for everyone to go, okay, it's fine, we can race UTMB. Let's just do what we were gonna do, and so I think in that sense, the World Trail Majors is going to play second fiddle to UTMB again, and that's just the way it's going to be. What do you think, Brian?
I don't know. I think I respect my adversaries too much to think that they're just going to lay down their arms. I think the United States, anyways, they're going to live and die on this hill with this sensitivity. This may die down, sure, from the height of its crescendo with the Corinne and Gary debacle, but there'll be some other misstep, guarantee it, with Ironman, and they'll rise up again with their legions of internet, trolling that they seem to love to do. Like Debo said, it really exists only in the echo chambers of online and social media. I think at the end of the day, when everybody puts down their keyboard ego, they go and they run UTMB if they're equipped to be an elite athlete and really, use that as a launching for their career, right? Like they're still going to serve themselves if they can do well at UTMB. So it's going to die down, but no, I think that they're still there. The pitchforks and the flames will still burn bright a day in the future.
Yes, that gives us more UTMB fuel for the fire.
Yep.
Future episodes, UTMB plastered all over the title. Great. That's what I like to hear. A bit more drama coming, but none for now. I hope you guys checked out Camille Herron's sharing of the Pro Trail. That's a bloody mouthful. The Pro Trail Runners Association UTMB meeting on X / Twitter. We'll stick it up on the screen now, but first off, bad form. Stuck a poll up on Instagram about that, and it's had a ton of votes. Plus, people are DMing me and going, "What?" Like 94% are saying, this is poor form.
Camille in good form has never been synonymous with each other. So her not having good form is really on brand for her. So we can all get a laugh at that.
Totally, I put her in the same kind of troll level as Jason Coop. Troy, what do you think? What do you think about is the UTMB drama over for now?
And until the next blunder, I think where UTMB is failing is they just don't know how to communicate with the culture of the sport. I think that because they're this growing organization, they're like, I read the statement and it just like reads like something your legal team say you have to put out in order to cover all your like liability basis, which I get, but like it just has no heart and soul, and it's like a talking at you, not a talking to you kind of conversation. So it's this whole like we're way up over here, guys, and y'all are just gonna have to deal with it. And I think that's just gonna keep to me, that just keeps rubbing salt in the wound for the people that want to. As much as the polarization is happening over here in the United States, I think people are just gonna vote with their dollars and decide where they want to go and what they want to race. And I do think that like posting screenshots of a meeting is definitely bad form. I think you can highlight some of the talking points and you can have your own opinion. You can maybe put up your own like bullet points of what happened, and that's not quite the same. But yeah, I mean, at this point, people like drama, and they're going to continue to look for it. I will say I've been a fan of what Ultra Running Magazine has done with highlighting a lot of grassroots events in America and highlighting like past events that have been big and like the history of them and all that kind of stuff. They have like a whole series that they're putting out, which I think kind of speaks to them trying to big up other events that we can go participate in North America. So
guys, let's jump over to our guest coach this episode, and we have a viewer question for elite ultra running coach Robbie Britton. So over to Robbie.
So the question is, there are weeks that I can't train because of work and travel. People are in situations where they haven't got the space or the safe environment they get out for a run. And it's quite common. You're not the only person out there who's got that problem. The first thing I would say is, if you know in advance when these periods are going to be, when it's difficult to train, try to plan your races around this. Think that if you can have a key race just before you go away and travel, so then that time away working is almost a rest period, or it's kind of further out from your A race. So you're not kind of in the key weeks before an A race having to take some time off running. The other thing to consider is trying to keep momentum. In those times, it's going to be hard to improve your fitness, but maybe you can do a little bit just to maintain. So it might be that if you can run even for half an hour every other day or every third day, that might be enough to either maintain the fitness you've got or just keep it ticking over enough that when you get to the end of this time where it's difficult to train, you come out the other side of it with still a decent amount of fitness you've taken into that trip, with you kind of ready to get going again when you're back in action. And the other thing I would say is look at other ways you could work out. It might be that you could do a strength routine that doesn't need much space or much equipment. You could do shuttle runs or even skipping on the spot, having a skipping rope. Could be quite a decent workout, and it's still keeping you moving, keeping you up and down with a bit of impact there. It's not ideal, and I wish there was an answer where you could just say, look, this is what you can do, and you'll come out the other end of a time without running fitter. But the simple thing of running is that you have to do some running to get fitter. But if you can maintain that fitness whilst you're away and whilst it's difficult to train, then maybe you come out the other side of it in a good place, and then you're straight back into another block of training when you've got that available, and you're ready to race.
Okay, guys, moving on to this next point, a bit of a fun one. What's in for 2024 and what's out? So I'll go first. I tell you what's out. Somebody tell me to change a fucking record, right? What is out is the World Trail Majors, because UTMB is back, baby. It is back. The runners are going to it. So, like, UTMB is in, World Trail Majors is out, certainly for 2024. And then for me, the big in this year in trail running really is Merrill. I think Merrill have been absolutely killing it the past few years and not getting any respect. Maybe because they didn't have any real athletes worth talking about. You know, they threw some money into the sky running. They've been making some good shoes, been firing the shoes out to influencers and getting good reviews. We know they make good shoes. We know they make good performing shoes. But this year, what have they done? They've taken on the title sponsorship of the Skyrun World Series. They've backed it up with a ton of new athlete signings, high-performing athletes, male and female, some maybe not Skyrunners, but yeah, I think there's some credible athletes on the roster. They've backing it up with great shoes, and also they're knocking it out of the park on Gorpcore. And we all know that that ticks a box for me. I think the whole Gorp Core thing is cool, and the color schemes that Merrill have on their great shoes and things are top stuff. And also the show sponsor, Gorewear, have a good connection with Merrill with the Gore-Tex boot. Sticking it on screen right now. I want this shoe. They just released it in green. I gotta get it. Brian, what's in and out for you this year?
So it's going to be the continued growth of Sub Ultra. I think Sub Ultra, the live streaming, the Golden Trail Series, Mammoth Trail Fest here. I'm already excited. It's just another year to get familiar with these young faces. I mean, these athletes are keeping me young. So I'm more excited about, investing more time in getting to know these rising stars that'll soon probably distance up into running full distance ultras. But Sub Ultra, man, the term, we're going to hear it, get familiar with it here at Trail Talk. I love it. Ricky hates it. Pick your team, pick your side. There's a line in the sand, right? And then conversely, what's out? I'm going to go with any of these like 24-hour or even 200-mile events, with the exception of Cocodona. Cocodona, just because of the live stream, I think is going to have a community that likes to tune in because we're all starving for content. But other than that, I think we're going to start to see the media side, maybe step away from these longer events. And I think that's why Camille's star has started to dim a little bit, because some of the events she focuses on and accolades are falling into these like 24-hour track events. And I guess I haven't seen, in the last couple of years, those continue to grow in popularity. If anything, it's stagnated and probably gone back, and I'll see it continue to regress this year. So those are my ins and outs, and excited for Sub Ultra to just grow into a bigger monster globally.
I haven't heard the term Sub Ultra mentioned in ages, because we didn't record a show in January, and it was so refreshing. And then you just brought me back to earth there with a bang. It's like, oh my God, I haven't heard that in weeks. So appreciate that. And that's an interesting point you're making on the 200 milers and the 24-hour and stuff like that. Hadn't really thought about it, but I tend to agree with you. I think that that star has dimmed. Maybe it's because trail running, trail and ultra trail is getting more coverage, and it's just not getting anything different. I never had much of an interest in it anyway, but the likes of the races like Spartathlon, these races are iconic. They come and go. We see the results. We see who wins them and stuff, and that's about it. Good take on that. Troy, what do you think? What's in for you and what's out for you this year?
Yeah, so what's in? Gary Robbins' race. What's out? UTMB Whistler.
We are going to kick you out this year if that's the extent of your take on this. Ricky, what do you got? 2024, let's have it.
2024 in is that race going to the World Trail Majors, because I think the Grand Raid Pyrenees gets 6,500 people attending that race. Now that it's gone to the World Majors and a little bit of shit from UTMB, that could turn into like 8.5 or maybe 10,000 people. And if that hit 10,000 people, I think that'd be huge for the World Trail Majors going into 2025. So I think it could be a huge step forward for the World Trail Majors having that race and that prestige in their locker. So that's in for me, and out for me. I wasn't even sure what was out until Wolfie started talking about Sub Ultra. Sub Ultra is out. Sub Ultra has gone so deaf and dumb. Nobody's talking about it, so it's definitely out. It's definitely out. It was never in anyway, so it's out. Sorry, Wolfie, it's out.
It came in on a revolving door, and it's gone before we even knew it.
It's like a fart. It disappeared in the wind, so it did.
Just wait till those series start growing, boys.
All right, guys. I put a call out for viewer questions, and we had quite a few come in. But the top one that people wanted to know really was a bit more about us and what our goals are for the year. So why don't we kick it off and just let the audience know what our A goal is for the year? Personally, for me, my main race is Trofeo Kima, a skyrunning race in Italy. 50-ish K, 4,000 meters of vert, that type of thing. 7 mountain passes over 2,500 meters. I don't find out until the 16th of February if I've got one of 100 places in that race. I have to put an application in and say what races I've done and this type of stuff. You have to have a minimum ITRA score or International Skyrunning Federation score, and I'm right on the bubble on that. But what maybe is standing in my favour is I got into the race 2 years ago, but I didn't accept the entry because we moved to New York. So I got in then. Maybe they'll let me in again. But that's my main race. Leading up to that, I'll do 5 or 6 50Ks or thereabouts in the Alps, and also planning on doing the Bob Graham round in the English Lake District. So that's my year. Maybe slip in a 100-mile mountain race somewhere. Brian, what's your big scary goal for 2024?
Yeah, this one was kind of cool. I took it, to look at it personally, and then also within my running goals. So personally, it'd be great if I could launch I want to launch some type of life coach. I want to work with people that are in this ultra community. I think I've got a lot of good tidbits that I could help them with inside and outside of running, just navigate life and, the rigors of our sport. So I need accountability partners from you guys. Keep me honest on that and make sure I'm putting in work to try and launch something there. And then within running, I just can't shake the monkey off the back, man. Javelina, it's my backyard race. I'm not inspired by it, honestly, anymore. I want to do the 100K, so it's 3 loops in a regional park. But I just want that sub 10 finish there. I got to go sub 10 hours before I think I can move on from that goal and trying to enjoy some of these other races. Like, I have a real desire to run Versteeg's saddle race, but it, competes in the same weekend with Javelina. And then also want to run the man versus horse race where you actually race there in Prescott against horseback riders. So again, another race that kind of runs up right against Javelina. So yeah, cheer me on, man. Let me get this sub 10 so I can get rid of Javelina, because it's not inspiring me, but I just can't shake that monkey off the back. But yeah, building up, it'll just be, again, kind of just feeding off Aravaipa's endless race calendar. So I'm spoiled enough that I can run 50Ks all throughout fall and summer, so it'll be nice, or spring and summer.
Yeah, you've got no shortage of options there. But
right.
Whenever I'm looking at races, I like to not train races and all that type of stuff as in a main goal. I think, and it ties into that kind of ultra running mindset or drive that we tend to all have, and is to enter something that kind of scares you a little bit, that you think you could fail at, or I think I can do it. I'm not quite sure, but I want to try. So I think maybe you should go and enter the Arizona Monster 300. Big scary goal. What about that?
Yeah,
Something to scare shit out of you?
No, like I told Troy on the mid-packer pod when I was talking to him, I entered the sport kind of just through like cross country and, tying all my goals to time. And I'm still, I think, young enough and fit enough to kind of still have scary goals that are time-based, but I can see me wanting to evolve into tackling course profiles that scare me without even needing to put a time on it. So yeah, but I can't let go of that until I get this sub 10 hour 100K finish. So
Troy, what's your goal for this year? And don't tell us about your injury.
Yeah, so my goal for this year is I'm running Laurel Highlands up in Pennsylvania. It's a 70.5 mile point to point. It's the shortest Western States qualifier on the East Coast. So that's why I signed up for it, because I swore off hundreds for 2024. And then I'm going to be running a series of 50Ks leading up to that. And I've got a friend that's coming out from California to run Hellbender, which I ran last year, and I'm going to pace him for 50 miles of that. Laurel Highlands in June, so I have no idea what I'm going to do in the spring. In the fall. But yeah.
So when did you decide on Laurel Highlands? This is a new one.
I signed up the day that you could register, because I knew I needed the qualifier, because I have a Hard Rock ticket for this year with last year's grindstone finish, so I don't need to run like a hard mountainous 100-miler. And also, like, I'm just trying to like kind of prioritize family this year a little bit more, so the 100-milers take a lot out of that. I kind of had Laurel Highlands on the calendar early, because I went through that Western States qualifying list, and I was like, I don't want to run 100 to qualify for Western. So what can I do?
Anybody else surprised he's not running Gary's race? I mean, my God, the guy's been just showering Gary with accolades and support. And then when it comes down to actually putting up the entry fee to actually support the race, we go silent here. I mean, my God. Yeah, kumbaya, but no money where the rubber meets the road, right?
Soft Troy is the new name from here on. Ricky, what is happening this year? What's the goal?
Yeah, so goal, right? So goal A was a race that I did like 2 weeks ago. So I always look at it like that. It's like everyone says, what's the A goal? Every race is the A goal. It's like every race is the A goal. So my first A goal was a race here called Art O'Neill, which was a 60K race up over the mountains. And I managed to get the W there. As you Americans love to say, I got the W. And so that was goal number one, smashed. And I was delighted because it's a race I always wanted to win. It's steeped in history here in Ireland. And it's, if you know, that kind of race. So I was really, really proud to win that race. And now moving on, I've got Istria 100, but just before Istria 100, I've got a tune-up race that me and Aaron might talk to you about at a later stage. But I mean, that's now my new goal. So that race is my new goal, right? So I'm not going to talk about much of that today. And then once I do that race, it's Istria. So Istria 100K, it's another UTMB race. So I'll get some stones for maybe UTMB 2025. Istria 100, I'm putting all my eggs into that basket for now, and I'm hoping for a big finish there. So I'm going to say it live on radio or on TV or whatever you want to say. I want a top 10 finish at Istria 100. So that's my big goal for 2024. And then in August again, I'm heading back to Chamonix to run in TDS. TDS scares the shit out of me, but it excites me as well because I also think that because it's not UTMB, there's a chance that a non-elite like myself can do really well at TDS. So again, all my eggs will go into that basket when it comes to the time. So it's going to be a super year. It's already been a super year, and it's going to get better and better.
And what does a top 10 at Istra? What sort of time is that? Isn't that the race that Jim won last year to get his entry?
Yeah,
to UTMB Mont Blanc.
For this, I'm doing the 100K.
You're doing 100K, right?
Yeah, I'm doing the 100K. So Harry Jones, ex-Hoka athlete, who is out in 2024. So there's your other out for 2024. and we don't know who he's with this year, but Harry is a friend of mine, let's say. Fantastic runner. And Harry was fourth in 11 hours, just over 11 hours. So you're looking at a 6-minute kilometer average pace. So I'm kind of aiming for that kind of a time. Yeah. So around 11 hours, maybe 11 and a half hours, something like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, whenever you have a yardstick like Harry to compare yourself to, you can see how you can set that type of goal. Interesting, that's cool. And of course, TDS, you're going to smash that out of the park because you've got the elite crew coming in from the valley to feed you some gels and pass you some water and stuff. So that I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be super, man, super. Like that, I'm heading out there. I'm going to do it right this time. So I'll be heading out there in July for the full month before the race. So I get well used to the acclimatization, well used to the big climbs again, well used to the course. So super excited for that. What's not to love?
All right, guys, moving on to our last question. Another one from a regular viewer. Is having a pacer cheating? I'm going to let this go around the panel first, and then I'll come to it last. Wolfie, why don't you kick us off?
I don't know. The way I take it is like maybe in Europe, pacers are the equivalent to like hiking sticks in the U.S., right? Like we don't get it, we don't understand it, but in certain races, I guess it's necessary, and if you know how to use it, it's a big benefit. But like, I mean, if the race allows you to have pacers, then the short answer is no, it's not cheating, right? Like within the rules of the race, if they allow pacers, no, it's not cheating. And I know that there's certain professional runners, right? Because we're only talking about the elite, like the mid-packer, who cares? It's just a bonding experience, and I wouldn't want to take a pacer experience away. Like I've created great friendships from sharing Sufferfest with pacers. But from the elite professional side, there's some professionals that don't even want pacers because it's a detriment to their race. So if the race allows it and the professional wants it, then they're just a taking what advantage the race provides them with. But I don't know why the question would even be posed that way. So
I was going to take the piss, Wolfie, and say that it's not cheating if the pacer can't keep up with the elite runner. but
True story. True story.
True story, right? You know, but the way the question is phrased is wrong. It is wrong because pacing is allowed in certain races and it's not allowed in other races. The same way trekking poles are allowed in certain races and they're not allowed in other races. So if the race allows for it, then it obviously it's not cheating. But to answer that viewer's question, are they saying they think it's cheating? They think it's cheating. And I don't know, is it cheating? It's sometimes when you look at something like Western States, I don't really think the elites need a pacer in something like the Western States. I don't see the advantage of having a pacer in Western States. And I actually don't think there should be pacers in Western States. Something like Hard Rock's a bit different because of the amount of climbing, the elevation, just the fact that you're out for a little bit longer than you would be, and the course isn't quite so runnable. Maybe I'd allow pacers on that course, but in something like Western States, no.
I think you guys need to learn to have a little bit more fun with this. Let's be more creative with the term cheating. We're not talking about is it against the rules of a specific race. We're talking about, is it advantageous to have a pacer compared to somebody that doesn't have a pacer in a race, and therefore it's creatively being posed as potentially cheating. In that respect, is there any change in opinion, Ricky?
Well, if you're talking about that, then we're going to go down a rabbit hole, because then you're going to go down
go there.
What about somebody at an aid station? Sure, you'll have some people that don't use anybody at an aid station, and you have somebody else that's handing them gels and giving them stuff and filling their water bottles, and some people will say that's cheating.
So it's an advantage.
It's an advantage, yeah. It definitely is an advantage, yeah. It is an advantage.
We've got road marathon majors that have time pacers because we want to see world records broken. So it's clearly an advantage, but I like that Western States allows it because we get to see these insane 100-mile times from these guys out there ripping with pacers. So clearly it's an advantage. I like that we have races that lean into providing that advantage, so we get the absolute best performance out of the racer if he feels like the pacer is the advantage.
Unless your name's Courtney.
Come on, hippie. Tell us your take on this. Come on.
This fucking guy, my God.
Well, I'm just saying, she smashed the course record and didn't have a pacer. She didn't even think twice about it. Okay, from a personal standpoint.
How much faster could she have been?
I don't know. Some people love it. Some people, it's a love-hate question, right? It's some people love to have their pacers, and some people are like, they get in the way. They get in my head, and I don't want to worry about them. I think I've heard that argument a lot. From a personal standpoint, I don't know. I've never used a pacer, so I don't know what kind of advantage it would bring me. I would be interested to see, if I liked it or didn't like it. I could see how I've been in really dark places in 100-milers, and I could see how having someone there, knowing they're there to help you and to push you, as opposed to getting left or being in kind of a no man's land with other runners, how that could be advantageous. I think it just comes down to the runner, because I do know people that love to be pushed and want someone. I watched a guy, he came in, it was first in his age group and 10th overall at Castle Peak. And I came in, he had 2 miles to go, and I kind of joined them for a little bit, but he had a good buddy of mine. These are both friends of mine, but a good buddy of mine pacing him. And Austin put my buddy Chris right in front of him, said, I need you 5 feet in front of me, and I need you to set the pace. And pull me. This kid collapsed at the finish line. You know what I mean? This guy used his pacer to dig every ounce that he had in him out at the finish line. So I can see how it could be very advantageous for people that kind of need that carrot.
We're talking about elite athletes that somebody running Western States knows exactly what their splits need to be. They know exactly what their splits need to be. So if they put somebody in front of them hitting those splits, course record pace, it's a massive advantage. Yeah, Jim Walmsley still has to chase that guy and make sure that he's up his hole. But it's a huge advantage. But it's allowed, so it's not cheating.
If you think for a minute Courtney didn't have pacers, you're absolutely wrong. It's called the front end of the men's elite field. So if you don't think those guys aren't pulling Courtney forward at Western States, Troy, you're out of your fucking mind. Okay? If Courtney had a pacer herself that was dedicated to her and she maybe wore some 5-inch shorts that were appropriate for an elite runner, we'd see her shave off so much time it'd be ridiculous. But she'll just keep doing Courtney and just plogging along in her old-fashioned ways, okay? So don't get me started on Courtney. There's so much untapped talent there that she just wants to lean into this like ho-hum, I'm just happy and I chisel away at my pain cave. And Troy, at your Hellbender race, I think if I was there pacing you during your 26-mile Sufferfest, I think I would have kicked your ass into gear. So you need a pacer to get you through those dark moments. Clearly.
Well, that was Grindstone, but
Grindstone, whatever.
Hellbender was a whole nother 50 miles of hell for me because my stomach was garbage. So anyway,
I thought whenever you mentioned it was your friend and he was like, you know, an age group contender, I thought you were talking about Wolfie.
How dare you?
No. It was a sight to be seen though, to watch this guy like just bury himself, you know, like I don't think he would have been walking it in if he didn't have the pacer, like, cause he was about as deep in it as I've ever seen anybody in suffering. Like he was suffering immensely just to get to the finish line. And, you know, he pulled it out. Like I said, I spent 2 hours with the guy in the medical tent because he couldn't move afterwards. Like I was just like, he went there, you know, so.
Put him to work.
His pacer did put him to work straight up. And there was a call in, like he called him and said, hey, meet me with 8 miles to go at this last aid station and pace me in. And my friend was like, sure, let's do it.
I want to bring up one point that you made, Wolfie. You were saying like the elite marathon runners are using pacers, which is correct, right? The elite marathon runners are using a pacer. But not every runner gets a pacer. It's like the guys at the front that are pacing world record pace, or they're setting the pace to break the course record on such a course. Like, and like
people tell you those signs. If you want to be a 3-hour marathoner, they get that pace group. If you want to go 240, what are you talking about, man?
No one's carrying the 2-hour sign, Brian. No one's carrying the 2-hour sign. Okay, like
it's a laser. It's a 2-hour laser.
Yeah. No, in fairness, I eat my words there. I'm wrong there because I was gonna bring it hard and say no. Only the guys at the front of the pack. So the guy that's in 10th position, the only pacer he should be allowed to use is the guy that's in front of him. And I mean the other runner that's in front of him, not a pacer. But no, I'm wrong on that because there is, like, sure, look at I'm pacing an hour and a half time in a half marathon in a few weeks myself, like, so, you know, and that's not the time that's going to win the race, like, so yeah, I eat my words.
Ricky's carrying the sign.
Yeah. And about dropping your pacer, I think there's nothing better as a confidence boost for the actual participant than to drop somebody that's got fresh legs and, you know, a certain level of skill themselves. So no shame in getting dropped if you've ever been, you know, behind somebody.
Yeah, but if you're dropping them, you got to be asking, what the fuck are you doing here, man?
70 miles on my legs and I'm dropping you. Yeah, look, I think it's a fun one. I personally have never had a pacer. It's not a thing over here, but if I was racing in America and a pacer was an option, I think I would take it more for the experience of it. I kind of like the people that you meet randomly in races, you know, that ultra yo-yo, you know, someone's quicker than you on the flat or the descent or the climb or whatever it is, and you end up, you know, speaking to them every hour for a few minutes. I would do it for the experience, but it's definitely an advantage. I think, I mean, in the US, is it a thing where people are mule and kit? Like, surely, like, here, man, do you want a gel? Take a caffeine gel. Do you know what I mean? And they're carrying it, not the runner, or not the racer. Is that a thing? I mean, does that happen?
Leadville does it. There's only a handful of races that let you do it. Most races you can have a pacer, but you can't take gear from them. They're not supposed to carry your kit.
People probably do it anyway. No,
I mean, it's getting done for sure. I mean, everybody that's not on the front end of the race is muling kit in some capacity that falls outside of the RD's, you know, rules. But that, like to Versteeg's point, he's like, this is stupid. Like you want to get a slice of pizza 20 miles down where there's no aid station, get the damn pizza. I don't care. You're out here to have an experience. So, this isn't like we need to nail ourselves to the cross over these rules. Like just go have fun. And if you got a pacer, have fun.
Perfect then. Okay, guys, thanks for joining the show. It was a bit of fun. To everyone out there, go and smash subscribe, hit a like, share it with a friend, go to goreware.com and use the 30% discount code, do all that good shit, and we'll see you next time. Peace.